So what's up, everybody? I'm with my youth pastor in my church, Clint
What
Goodrum.
up,
And Clint, I got a few questions. The first one I want to ask is, who is Jesus Christ to you?
man? Savior, Lord, friend, counselor, redeemer, comforter, um, father, everything to me. And the more that I lean into Him, the more I realize He needs to be my everything in my life.
hmm And I got so you're a youth pastor, right? And how do you navigate doing ministry, still trying to keep up at home, still try to keep up with your wife, your kids, and even the youth kids? I know that can be a bit stressful. How do you keep up with it?
Man, I tell you, that's called like that family life, work, ministry balance. One of the things is just keep it in your mind that things can get out of balance. You can be so devoted to one thing that you slack in an area. And so for me to realize, man, I got to make sure my family, my wife are the most important thing outside of my personal relationship with God. And so there's always going to be needs. There's always going to be people that need my time or need that, and I want to make sure that I'm there for them, but not at the expense of my kids saying, "Well, my dad was a good pastor to them in his youth, but not really to mom or me." So I just keeping that as a focal point in my life to say, listen, the word says like when you're appointing leaders, they got to have their life in order, and they need to be good husbands and good fathers, and the fruit of that will be evidence in their kids. So I don't want to be saying in a role where there's not fruit in my family, but then also just the pool of time and all that, just making sure that I'm being faithful with the time that I have and a good steward with the time that I have, and I'm not wasting time. And so I try to map out my days in a way that the main things get the priority, God gets priority, family gets priority, but also that I'm stewarding time well enough that I can visit, meet with students, counsel with students, show up for their life events. And sometimes it's just a matter of being organized enough to say, hey, send me your ball schedule, get with my wife and saying, hey, this week we're going to a football game. This week we're going to a soccer game. So those things, they do matter to us, but if we don't plan them, they probably won't happen. Um, so it's kind of a mixture of priorities, but also planning. And then just the life and the call of God. It's like I also have to realize this: that if anything were to pop up, I throw everything away to go minister. There's times where you just got to be willing to wake up and drive a truck and show up and be about it. So, but try to keep that balance and try to keep it as a focal point, because you're not going to accidentally be balanced or organized and well with your time. At least for me, it's not an accidental thing. I have to be proactive in those things.
Cool. And I got one more question for you. You got any type of encouragement or any type of testimony that the Lord is doing in your life right now that you can give to not only ministers, but
Mm.
the person on the other side of the screen that can encourage them to keep on going with this walk? What would you give them?
And I would just say this: there's a lot of different seasons in ministry, and I'm not going to act like I'm arrived or I'm some hot shot, but I've been at this for a little while now. I started as a volunteer in 2008, and then have carried through the years where I've been in full-time ministry going on 8 years. And there's different seasons that you go through of highs and lows as far as, oh, the numbers will be up in the events, and what you can end up doing is get more focused on being good at your job and making things happen than and accidentally miss out on the richness of the deep relationships with God and the people that you do have. And so here recently, about the last 2 years especially, and this last year, I've been able to feel a deeper richness of the relationship that I have with students and families. It's a very rewarding season to be in, to kind of, yeah, you still want to do the job well, you want to plan things well, you want to have your ducks in a row and all that stuff, but that's not really the end game. The end game is to really be able to get into the lives and build into their lives, get to know their stories. And so I would tell you, you might be a young minister discouraged right now and want to give up, because there are times where you do want to give up, because it's not feeling very rich. There is going to be a season of breakthrough. If you just continue to be faithful, there is a breakthrough season where it'll be very, very rich, and that vision that God has given you will begin to be realized. You'll begin to see that. And so I would say, if you are on a venture to be a young minister, don't always look to TikTok or Instagram and look at the influencers, because they have maybe struck gold with views and likes. Sometimes you need to look to like the faithful minister that has built deep, long lasting relationships, where they have been a shepherd, have been a stable voice in their life, have been somebody that's reliable to them. Because a lot of times we don't look to the faithful ministers of the old school. We look to the big flash in the pan guys, and just look at the fact that, man, if you just keep going and you keep loving Jesus and you keep stewarding your flock well and loving them well, then it's very rich and it's very rewarding. And you do see God's hand moving. You do see miracles. You do see all the things that you long to see, but you do have to remain faithful to the flock you have now and allow it to bless you, allow it to be a blessing in your life.
Well, thank you, Clint. That's all I got for you. You gave
You're
an
welcome.
incredible word today. Thank you.
You're awesome, man.